Hello, I'm Roberta. I'm on Eugene's YouTube channel, and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little Polymer clay Santa. So what you're going to need for that is some Polymer clay in the colors flesh tone, red, and white, cutting board, and a knife. So we're going to start with the head, and with the head we're just going to take about a little half-inch cube like that, and we're going to roll it into a ball. That makes his head. And it's easier if you work on a pedestal because you see his beard hangs down. So I'm going to put the other head right beside my existing Santa, and after I'm done that I'm going to make the hat. With that you need some Polymer clay red. That much. With that, what I start is just start molding it into like a round kind of tube, and then I just roll the one end to make the hat pointy. So you have something like this, which is a cone and doesn't really look much like a hat yet. Just looks like a bad cone. But then you just smush it down to make it flat and make a little edge on the top, like Santa's hat. Doesn't matter if they're the exact same size. If you want it shorter, just cut the end off. And then you have something that looks like that. Now to make the trim around the hat, what I'm going to do is take some white Polymer clay and make it into an even long snake. Don't worry if there gets some red in your white Polymer clay. That happens because it gets on your fingers. Not a big deal. So what you want to do with the one end is smush it with your finger, because that's where the seam's going to be. And you want this at the back of your hat, so the smushed end goes right into the back, and then you just wrap that around, overlap it so you have a nice neat seam, and then you cut it on a diagonal like that so that it makes a nice flat seam at the end, and you just kind of mash it together. We'll do all the decorating stuff at the end, but that's basically the basic shape of the hat. Now with that little piece of snake that you have left over, just cut a little piece off the end, roll it into a little ball. Maybe I need a little bit more, that ball's too small. Just roll it in between your fingers until you make a ball, or if you can't do it between your fingers, just do it in your palm, make a little ball like that. And that goes on the end of your hat, like that. So there's the hat is complete, and there's the head, and there's the hat. We're just going to move the hat aside for a second, and we're going to work on the sideburns and the beard. So again, what I did with the sideburns is you're going to make a series of snakes. So I'm just rolling it out to make my snakes, and I'm going to cut 2 equal length snakes for the sideburns. And if you put it on top like that, then you get 2 equal size snakes. And then you just roll them out a little bit, and then just flatten out the little logs that you've made. So you got your 2 little logs there, and you flatten them out. And it doesn't matter if they're not exactly perfect, because we're going to texturize them anyway. So then with my last little log is my little mustache. So I'm just going to trim that off a little bit because I don't need it that long. That's the mustache. And then we're going to make the beard. So with the beard, what you're going to do is make another snake. about that long. And then you're gonna fold the snake on itself so you have something that looks like lips, and you're just gonna bend them in the middle like that, so like you got like a little happy face with your white clay. I know it doesn't look like a beard yet, but it will once we start texturizing it. So there's our happy face snake right there. Okay, now we're going to start assembling this. The last thing I put on is the hat because you want to be able to handle your face. So the first thing we're going to do is trim my mustache because I made it too long. Is put the mustache on. So before you do that, you need a little bit of red clay that you used for the hat, and you just kind of put that around the bottom so that it looks like a mouth. It doesn't have to look like a perfect mouth, but you'll see what I mean in a second. So above that, you put your mustache and flatten it out onto the clay. So that's the mustache. Next, you're going to put your beard on. And you put that right on top of the mustache. That. And the last thing you're going to do is put your sideburns on. And if you, I guess I made those too long too. My head's a little bit smaller this time. So the sideburns go on at the side, and it just kind of ends there at the top of the hat, which is fine. And put it on the other side, like that. So there's your face in a rough form. Next we need another little bit of that beige cream face, colored clay. And you're going to just make another little round ball similar to the one that you made for the ball on the hat. So that's the ball, and it's going to go right where the nose would go, and then you just flatten it out a bit so it looks like a big pudgy nose. Now we're going to try to assemble this, and we're going to texturize it, but that's the tricky part because sometimes you flatten the head a bit, but it's not a big deal. So take the hat that we made earlier and try to get so that the seam is at the back and your hat kind of bends off to the side. So you just take that and you smush it onto your head, and don't worry if you mash your head a bit because you can redo it after and keep it bent. So there's our Santa in the rough form. So now what I'm going to do is, you can see I've got my finger under the beard, because if you don't do that you'll flatten it to the head and it'll get all stuck. Got our knife, and we're going to start texturing. So you start with the sideburns and you just jab the knife into it. That gives it kind of like the texture of hair. And while you're doing that, you try to make your seams go together. See how I'm kind of rubbing them together? And do the mustache. And do the other sideburn. And then do the beard. So you just make little cutting motions. And see, the two little tubes that you've got together actually makes it look like a real beard. And this one we can shape a little bit different. We'll shape this like a pointy Santa beard. So just texturizing around the mouth a bit. And then the last thing we're going to do, well, two more things. Just go around the hat a bit to make it look fuzzy, and I'm just jabbing, not as close as I jabbed for the hat, for the beard, and do the same on the pom-pom, go all the way around. And then the last thing I'm going to do is use my ribbon curler. If you don't have one of these things, you can just use a toothpick, but I find this thing makes perfectly centered eyes, and you just go pop, and there's your two eyes, and there's your Santa. Not exactly as the other one, he's a more traditional Santa. Bye.